New details now at 5. We're learning the timeline after a 60-year-old woman was found dead at her desk 4 days later. Tempe, Arizona police say Denise Prudhomme scanned into work at Wells Fargo corporate office at 7 a.m. on Friday, August 16th. Her body was found the following Tuesday after a colleague saw her. Much of the office works remotely. Prudhomme's cubicle was reportedly on the third floor and away from the main aisle. Employees say they could smell a foul odor, but thought it was a plumbing issue.
Good morning, Danny. How are you?
Morning. I'm great, Tony. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you out there for listening and watching. So welcome to another episode of The Guard Tower, where we're actually going to be talking today about a situation that happened here in Arizona. And it's actually kind of bizarre. I mean, don't you think it's kind of weird?
It is a strange situation.
Yeah, so I'll set it up for you guys if you haven't seen it on the news nationally. Wells Fargo has a few buildings here in Arizona, and they had one of their employees who was recently found dead after 4 days of sitting in a cubicle, dead. I mean, what's even weirder is like, okay, so she's been there for 4 days, but who found her? Who eventually found her? I mean, there's so many questions on this. So so we're going to be discussing this. What happened? What could possibly have happened? Who should have found her? Blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Danny, thoughts?
So apparently she was actually there for a few days before she was found. So initially the thought is, okay, nobody was checking on her. Nobody was, doing patrols. That's kind of the first I think the first thoughts that somebody from the outside would have, coming kind of from internally from being in like a the same field. It would be like, okay, was she actually working? Were other people working? Was anybody like on staff at the time? Was she already kind of a loner? Did she have a direct supervisor who she was in touch with? Was it normal for them to not really talk for a couple days? Because some people I know who work from home now, which I know is a different scenario, it's normal for them not to talk to their supervisor for a few days at a time. So depending on the position or the situation, that could have been a normal thing to happen as opposed to it being negligence. But it appears like negligence from the outset.
Well, this is what happened. She punched in on a Friday at 07:30. I think it was actually 07:39 is what they actually posted out. So she was there Friday morning, Saturday, Sunday, discovered on Monday.
Yeah.
So I'm with you.
Yeah.
Do they have a security team patrolling? And what's even worse is that the way that she was kind of discovered and the way they were talking was that it was starting to smell. Well, I'm with you. Where are all the coworkers? If it's starting to smell, where's the janitor team? Like, where are they at?
Yeah, the custodians.
And was it a contract team? Is it an internal team? Because I will be honest, I can see where there's a lot of buildings that are closed up on the weekends with no security. So a person could go there on a Saturday. They die there. They might not be discovered till Monday.
Yep.
If they're doing it right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's with a good internal team or contract security company doing the proper patrols. I mean, but then once again, there's a lot of buildings with a lot of cubicles, a lot of walls, a lot of situations. So it would be interesting to see what procedures and how they patrol.
Yeah.
Do they check every corner? Do they check every... I bet they will now. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? At least for the next 6 months, they're going to be paranoid and check what? But after a year, could it happen again? Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I find it weird. And man, where's the custodial company too? Like, do they not have?
So it's interesting. I two thoughts on that. One being, I've never had a security position where you literally walked into every cubicle
right
in a building. For one, it often would just take too long, but two, people don't necessarily appreciate having somebody like checking in on their cubicle while they're working. It can be a little bit disruptive. Some people just they like their privacy, or they have trouble concentrating, and so they're trying to kind of be in their bubble, and you popping your head into their cube, it doesn't usually get received very well. So doing like a general kind of zigzag patrol of the inside of an area, you might see a few of those, but if there's a sea of cubicles, there's going to be some in the middle that even just doing normal patrols that are somewhat thorough, you're easily going to be able to miss some of those.
Oh yeah, you know what? You bring up a great point. How people can misconceive a security patrol.
Yeah.
If you have a big guy, I'm not going to name him, who's going around patrolling.
I know this guy.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Where you might get a call going, you know, why is he patrolling? You know, what's he doing? And I just had to tell people, you know, I understand he intimidates a lot. I understand his verbiage is a little off sometimes, but, you know, he's just doing his job.
Okay, he is a gentle giant.
But yeah, you bring up a good point. Some people find it suspicious that security is actually walking around and doing their job. Would you not agree, sir?
Yeah, I agree. Hold right there.
So that's a great point. But then once again, and then you have to ask yourself, wow, how do you try to fix this now? Like, she checked in at 7:30 Friday.
Yeah.
Do you run a report at night of people who, because I mean, how do you figure out who's left the building? How do you figure out, you know, do they badge out when they leave? You know, so I feel bad for that security team, because to me, there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, things happen.
So I think you could have a few protocols to kind of prevent stuff like that. So one could be that in the badging system that you have a formula or some kind of just minor script set up that pings either the security team or someone in management. It pings them if somebody clocked in and didn't clock out that night, so they get a notification like, oh, this person didn't clock out. So then at least you're shooting them a text or giving them a phone call, be like, hey, what time did you leave, so I can fix your time, or, you know, is everything all right? And if they can't get a hold of them, then they can go find them. I think the other one would be, and companies aren't going to like this because this makes overtime, would be having somebody on the team volunteer to be the weekend check-in person, where, oh, okay, on Saturday and Sunday I'll go in for an hour and I'll just do one thorough patrol, you know, check off my boxes and then go home, get a couple hours of overtime, easy. If you're commuting, obviously that wouldn't be practical, because then, you know, you might be driving 40 minutes one way just to work for an hour, but you would get a little bit of overtime, or you could plan it into your work week, and make that just a minimum or a minimal team effort where it might just be one person, and that could prevent stuff like that. But it's not, most companies, I'd say almost all of them, are not doing that on the weekends.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
That seems like a logistic nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
It does. Right?
Yeah, because I know I don't see many companies asking individuals to swipe out on their way out. I mean, it would be like, I'm with Isaac, it's a logistical nightmare for that one. The most I would say is, hey, let's get down back to basics. If you're there on the weekend, maybe that's when you do a better patrol, you know, or, you know, because like I say, what are they going to do with the company or the in-house department if they write in their logs, oh, we patrolled on Saturday at 2:00 in the afternoon. We didn't find anything.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I didn't think about this initially, but the Friday night, let's say that employee went there Friday afternoon, evening, or whatever, because there's plenty of people that do that, that they don't care if security is going to be there over the weekend or not, or that late or not. They need to work, and then they die there. It's Friday night to Saturday to Sunday to Monday, right? And so Monday morning comes, and the patrolling officer that morning goes, hey, there's something wrong, because it happened over a weekend, right?
Yeah.
During the weekday, there's no excuse, but I could see that weekend being one of those.
Well, we just had a holiday weekend. I mean, that makes it even worse because on a 3-day weekend, man, I know where I was. And it wasn't.
It wasn't at work.
Right. Right. So, you know, how are you going to fix that? What do you do with that? So a lot of questions. If you're part of Wells Fargo, call us, let us know, message me, tell me I'm full of it. You guys were patrolling, which then I would have to say, wow, you patrol with eyes wide open then, right? So, and then the smell. Oh.
There'd be scenarios I can remember where, depending on the facility, basically utilities type facilities, multiple buildings, you know, multiple cubicle areas, some less than safe, let's say, work areas that have a lot of machines, equipment that you're not necessarily supposed to be walking around, or walking through, let's say. And I know you probably remember some of this as well, but you would be around, you'd be patrolling around the area, but you weren't necessarily supposed to be going through those areas because you didn't have the proper safety equipment on, maybe the proper safety training that was required to be around that equipment. So you could be 100% doing your job well and keeping your eyes open, and somebody that's working within that context could have just kicked the bucket, you know, 3 hours before your patrol, and you would have no idea, and during your patrol. So obviously a Wells Fargo building's probably not going to have a lot of those situations going on with equipment, but I could see that happening at some of the places that we've worked at.
And then I have to look at the legality issues. I mean, if you're the family of that lady, who do you hold responsible? Like,
Yeah.
you go after Wells Fargo? Do you go after, if they had a contract security company, do you go after the contract security company? I mean, if that happened to me, I want some heads to roll, because how does a person sit there?
Well, if you're the family of that lady, maybe you should have been looking for her when she didn't come home that night, but I don't know.
Well,
That's just me.
we had that conversation too.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be the family is not with her, right? So
Yeah, it could be.
It's like,
Yeah.
how many times do I call my mom? Sorry, mom, love you, but you know, honestly, it's like, okay, so I'm pretty bad at that, but her is the same way. And to your question there, I'd go after Wells Fargo. They're the ones that's supposed to supply the security and the custodial staff, so
Right.
everything falls under Wells Fargo.
Yeah, because I mean, I'll take that to court, but if they give me a settlement offer, I'm out.
So custodial staff, that's a good one to bring up. So for one, we're in touch with ours at the building we work at. They come in, the girl who's kind of in charge of it for the evening, she'll come in, she'll get the keys from us, we'll talk to her. She's very friendly, so she'll let us know what's going on, if anything weird's been happening. She swears the third floor's haunted, you know, stuff like that. It's fun.
Mexican? She Mexican?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
well,
you.
Yeah.
Usually it's the third floor that is haunted.
This is the
by-
third floor,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And it's always Mexicans that point that out.
Because that's where all the units are attached to the, you know. Anyway, so
I'm the same way, though. I'm not going to lie. If, say, that refrigerator opened up, well, then I know I just signed a new lease, but we're leaving, Danny. We're leaving. That's some
to find
haunted
a new
stuff
home.
right there.
Yeah.
Some haunted stuff there.
So anyway, so she's in touch with us, but they'll finish up their work. They have multiple properties. They have multiple places they're cleaning. They're not going to stick around in one place for longer than they need to finish the job, at least with most contracts like that. So if they went in, let's say they're closed Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if they went in to clean on Thursday night or on Friday morning and they finished cleaning, they're not going to be back until it's dirty again, until somebody uses.
Sure.
So they may not have even been working over the weekend. Maybe Monday night is when they start back up again because everybody's using the facilities.
Yeah, no, I just find it
Yeah.
as a weird situation all the way around. So
It is.
figured that we would just talk about that today. And then if you have any input on it, just go ahead, email us, LinkedIn me, get me a message. let's figure this out together, because it's already coming out of the news feed. So until the next time, I'll catch you later.
All right. Thanks, Tony.
Yep.